Hey bro, my new year is coming up.
Yeah.
I have this resolution.
What is it?
I failed on my gym.
Okay.
I failed in waking up early. I thought maybe in 2024, I want to buy a property.
Oh my! But do you know what you have to do to get the property? Or not?
I mean, us lawyers, we would know. But then I was thinking, if you want to tell other people, how do we do that?
I think there might be a certain people, someone who's like going to be hosting like a show to inform us on this.
I see.
Yeah.
I think then perhaps can we invite everyone to welcome to Fresh Brew and our host for today. Do you know it? Do you know it?
I mean, beginners lah. Beginners not bad, what?
No,
Okay, I think we can-
But I love how they started, like, the sound was very, like, quiet, like, bro. I was like, I'm not sure the mic can pick up your voice. But yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Brew. Here's our two lovely, handsome lawyers for the day. And again, they will be helping us navigate the difficulty, for me at least, lah. That's why I'm not a lawyer. That's why I'm a host. Yes, for you as well.
For me as well.
But, like, you got a relation with him, so, like, he can help you out. I got nobody.
Now that's how they open there.
So anyways, welcome down, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, today, to those of you who are buying your houses for the first time ever, what do you need to know legally? Not just sign document, not just
like, okay, they give you zero deposit. Oh yeah, I think, okay. No,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that actually go around this, and typically a lot of people don't actually tell you much of the. If you want to think like, okay, I'm going to get all this information from my agent itself, but do they actually tell you everything?
Exactly. And what is all this stamping lawyer fee, or why do I need to pay a lawyer for my house?
But okay, have you bought your property yet?
Yeah, I tried. I'm not. Long story. We're going to put that in the back right after the show ends.
Okay.
But anyways, welcome down to the show. We have again a very, very handsome gentleman. Sherwin, hello, welcome.
Oh.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
Thank
Usually
you
I
for
see you
having
behind
me.
the camera.
Yeah, usually.
Not today, front camera.
I'm in front of it.
Yes, and also we have Chu Di Wei, and both of them are from Mercer's Chu Di Wei. Welcome down.
Thanks for having us as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here on this lovely morning as well, for taking time off your Sunday. Of course, for opening the show. That was something really, really interesting that we don't often do that with guests. But anyway, we want to straight jump into it, right? Can you share your experience, especially regarding home buyers or cases of such that you've experienced in the past, something that you want to highlight to us?
If all goes well, this agreement is signed, the sales and purchase agreement is signed, everyone's happy. But problems happen, then it usually becomes where there's problems with the property or the property is not delivered within a certain time.
Have you had like certain experiences, like within, I would say, home buyers that come to you that...
Yes, we have actually.
Yeah, we have a lot of those in our office. Usually they come for liquidated certain damages, it's called LAD, where you receive the vacant possession of your property late from the stipulated time, from the allowed time. So yeah, essentially that's most of the cases in relation to first home buyers that people not really aware of.
Okay, so for first-time home buyers, I want to know what's the process like for buying a house? So from going to view the property, from signing the SPA, from checking your bank account, whether or not you are eligible to even purchase the home, yada, yada, yada. So what's the process going on from when you first look at the house up until you receive the keys?
If you ask me, the first step should be referring to KPKT first to see whether the developer is licensed or not. Because if the developer is not licensed, then you're going to go through some issues in terms of if he absconds. Yeah, and besides that...
And then once you do your research on the developer and you're happy and comfortable with the developer, you then sign a sales and purchase agreement.
But is this like a process that everyone goes through, a typical process? And because we also have, I think you call it subsale of houses, where you purchase houses that are already been developed. And also, I would say, purchase houses that are future developments as well. Is it the same process that people typically do?
Generally, yes. But of course, if it's a sub-sale, you can see that property, so you kind of know that it's in existence, as opposed to a project that is going to be upcoming, and you need to do your research on the developer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which comes to a point at KPKT where you just inquire. I mean, everything is available online these days, so you can just do your due diligence to ensure that they are licensed, because sometimes they're not even authorized to do marketing. That can be a problem later on once there is issues with the delivery of the vacant possession.
Interesting.
So lawyers, we like to use the word due diligence. It's actually just, it actually just means research.
Research, yeah, sorry.
All right.
So now every time I think of the word due diligence, it means research.
But it sounds more chunky by saying due diligence.
professional.
Lawyer talk, lawyer talk. Love it, love it, love it. So coming back to the first question just now, you touched a little bit about what happens if the developer abandons a project, especially I think during the pandemic, a lot of projects got pushed back. Houses that were supposed to finish in 2024 are still, 2023 are still being pushed back to 2024. So what happens in terms of a legal standpoint for constructions, yes, extension and whatnot?
Okay. You want to talk about LOD?
LOD.
LED.
I mean, usually in terms of late delivery, usually if you want to know the calculation, there's two ways to calculate in terms of LED. One is from the deposit date you pay your deposit. The other is from the day you sign your SPA. And the end point is usually the vacant possession. So oftentimes, courts will go from the SPA to the date of vacant possession, which is 36 months for strata properties. But as a lawyer, we want to usually increase the chances of you recovering your money. So we would usually go for the deposit date.
Okay.
So we look at the amount of dates that they were late, and there's a mathematical formula for you to comply to, and once you calculate, and that will eventually come to the point of how much damages you can claim for.
Ah, okay. So it's like a form of compensation, right?
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of like a compensation.
Okay. But when you,
Sorry, and the calculation will be based on what is stated in the sales and purchase agreement. It's usually 10%.
Okay.
Oh, the standard is 10%?
Yes.
Okay, but when you mention damages, right, what kind of damages are you actually referring to? I believe it's also inclusive of the extension that she mentioned, but in terms of damages that you referred to?
What do you mean by damages?
You mentioned as in like things that you can, I would say, claim, per se, right, regarding damages.
I mean, you can go for latent defects. Usually once they give let's assume the vacant possession is given on time, but it's not up to your standards, up to par. So you can usually go for latent defects. And what happens is usually you just put in a form to the developer, ask them to fix these particular damages or issues that exist with the property. Within 30 days, they have to get back to you. If they do not, and then you can also hire your own contractor to fix these damages. Once they fix these damages, give it to their lawyers. If they still do not get back to you, then you can take a legal action.
Okay.
Wow, okay. So these are kind of processes that we don't typically know. But of course, your agent doesn't tell you these kind of stuff that actually, I would say the underlying stuff when it comes to purchase of home buying, right?
Yeah. I'm actually going to come back to let's say, why do we need a lawyer to begin with? That is, I think, a more important question here, because when you come and sign, because I've done so many, all of these property events, and normally how I see it is that, sales, they will tell you whatever, and then if you're interested, you will come down and sign the SPA, and then the process will continue from there. But because you're signing a document here that, again, involves you, and you don't have a particular lawyer at the point to read through it, vet through it, and normally a lot of us, we go through the TNC just I'm just going to sign it, I'm going to think about it later. How important is it to have a lawyer or have somebody who has legal knowledge, who can practice, of course, at the beginning process of purchasing a home? When should a lawyer come in is my question exactly.
When you start purchasing the property.
So are you saying that when we purchase a property, I have to have a lawyer in hand?
Once you identified the property, price-wise is of course a commercial decision, location-wise is of course a personal decision and commercial sometimes. After which then once you decide to sign anything, and that's exactly where the lawyer comes in. Because once you sign something, you are bound by it already.
Okay.
So would you,
Usually the SPAs will have to comply to the HDA, terms set in HDA. You'll be surprised at how many SPAs that do not comply to that.
Yeah,
and usually people like us are the one who will spot these issues, and we will advise you accordingly as to what you should do. Yeah.
I see.
Get a lawyer, ladies and gentlemen.
Get a lawyer. Get a lawyer.
Make sure you don't just come and
what about property contracts? Obviously, any contracts that you're actually looking to,
Sorry, get a lawyer, man. Very, very important.
Okay, but coming back, because we were talking about the process of having to purchase homes and all, okay? So what happens after the buyer decides to purchase the property?
Aside from signing a sales and purchase agreement, if you decide to take a loan, then you have to apply to your banks, and if you get approved, you then sign a facility agreement or a loan agreement, which there's other ancillary documents accompanying it, but fundamentally it's just the monies that you're going to get from the bank to buy your property. As you're buying cash, it's easier.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
most part-
that
for the most part, a lot of us
I love how you said that. Yeah, that's easier. I'm like, I don't have. I barely have cash for my lunch.
I mean, in an ideal world.
Yeah.
But as mere mortals amongst us, yes, we take a loan and then...
Of course, in an ideal, we all want cash.
Exactly.
I want to go home to 60,000 today. How much tomorrow?
Yeah. I'm actually curious though, because I've seen a lot of this shows like Selling Sunset, Selling OC, all this like real estate based shows. And what happens when somebody purchases because you brought it out, what happens when somebody purchases cash in terms of a legal aspect? Like I'm curious. It's just like, okay, I just pass you 60,000 and done.
That's
done.
Done deal?
Done deal.
Really?
The bank transfer, you have a bank transfer.
And you get the title.
Yeah.
And what do you guys do?
Oftentimes when you take a loan, you don't really get the title yet.
Yeah.
So usually if you pay cash, you have the title of the property on your name straight immediately.
What if escrow falls out, tak jadi, escrow, okay, I decide either one of the buyer. What happens when the buyer decides, hey, let's say you are not buying a new developed property, right? You're buying a subsale property, and the buyer decides, hey, I don't want to sell my house anymore. So in terms of legal standpoint,
going through the process of it.
Because by then you would have signed a document which will also encompass that scenario.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes.
So what happens in the legal process?
And depending on what's stated in the agreement, they probably say there's a deposit that's going to be forfeited, or certain more than just a deposit.
Okay. What are some of the tricky legal terms that are always in contract that us mere mortals do not understand?
Other than the fact they just pushed us on due diligence.
Yeah, like due diligence and all that. So what are some of the tricky terms?
Well,
this is all, we're going to correct all this over here.
So another trick that you always look out for clauses that says termination or events of default. So those are the fundamentals, wherein if there is an event of default, mean that someone breaches the contract, then you can claim. And what are your rights and remedies to claim for it?
What are your rights to...
Again, it's all stipulated in that contract. So if it's a subsale, it depends on the negotiating powers between the buyer and the seller.
So you as a lawyer, what do you want to be on the contract? What's when you draft your contracts, what are some of the terms and conditions that for you would advise your clients to have or to make sure before they sign this
is a must
contract?
have.
Yeah, this is a must-have in your contract to save yourself essentially.
Events of default, termination, and your rights in the event of an event of default.
Okay. What does event of default mean? Yes.
Just like due diligence and research. So events of default just means that if you do something wrong, if you breach the contract, what would you have done to constitute breaking that contract?
Can you give us an example of a scenario?
Not paying within a certain time, not having the title in your own name, maybe you've become a bankrupt. If it's a company, you've wound up.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's really, really interesting.
So the agreement is actually very thick.
Yeah.
So if you get a lawyer, save your time.
Yeah.
Let the lawyer do the work.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it helps you in the long run.
Yeah. Right. So what happens after everything's confirmed, everything's go, everything's done with, you receive the keys to the house. What are the steps right after that?
Well, essentially, it comes to a point you just check the property. I mean, this is in relation to strata property when it comes coming from a new developer. Usually, you just check the property. If there are any defects, like I mentioned earlier, you will usually go for defects claims. And again, if the developer doesn't want to comply to it, you hire someone to assess the damages, to assess the defects, put in a claim, don't reply, hire your own contractor, still don't reply, take an action against them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so complicated. I always thought buying properties are okay, agent, buy property, okay,
No,
done.
girl.
I was wow. Even after confirmation, I'm getting your house keys, everything, the whole process that you just mentioned, it's really, really complex.
Yes.
And of course, I've not gotten to the stage of buying my own property just yet. So I would say
I would say have fun. It's a very fun process. Fun process.
Fun, huh? Okay. So, actually, right, just going back to purchasing of properties, because we talked about the process of it, how it actually entails, how the workaround of it, and of course, from a legal standpoint as well, because those are some of the things that people don't typically talk about. And what are your thoughts, right? I want to know, because there are a lot of zero down payment. Usually, you know that, if you want to purchase homes, you have to put in a sum of amount to actually go through the process of purchasing the house, a deposit per se. So what are your thoughts on zero down payment, zero deposit? I would say, what are your thoughts on it in terms of that? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it something to look out for?
From a buyer standpoint, yes, perfect. I don't need to
Go
fork out any
ahead.
money. But buyers should also be aware that sometimes things are not really in compliance, or they may just be skirting around in the grey area between legal or not so much legal. And that also really depends on what is the current laws enacted at that point in time, rules, regulations, whatsoever.
Okay.
So what is the story behind those zero
Like
down points?
assuming the property doesn't, like, there is some issues. And as I was saying earlier in relation to LADs, if there's no deposit, just sign the SPA. Your claims later on will be bound by this SPA, as compared to if you have a deposit, which is an earlier date, and your claims will be more. So it depends on how you want to look at it. It's either when there's an issue or when things are going fine. If things are going fine, then of course as a consumer, no deposit, why not?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Take it. I
Yeah.
mean, like, you don't have to pay extra, no, nothing. But again, those are just marketing terms, right? Those are just terms to lure you in.
That's what people usually say. Like, they have I would say, a negative standpoint when they look at zero down payment. Oh, there's always something hidden behind those fine lines. So it's
And that's something also to look out for.
Yeah.
really okay.
You may not be paying now,
Yeah.
but you may be paying a little bit more or much more in the long run.
Yeah, yeah.
To be, again,
Typically,
it
that's the
comes down-
scenario,
Yeah.
right? When it comes to okay.
What
So
about
pros and
in terms of location, though? So we're talking about like building damages and like let's say the building's a bit singing, you know, it's tilted a little bit. Because I had a friend who had an apartment, so when he got his keys, got the contractor to see whether or not what are the I forgot what was the term for it, but he basically was just making sure everything is all right.
Right.
Everything is as promised by the developer, and turns out his kitchen was a little bit slanted.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can like he put a marble and then the marble like fell, so immediately he knew it was a little bit slanted. So those are the things that you know what to do when there are claims, right? But what about the location itself? Let's say you are promised, okay, this building in the next 5 years there's going to be a mall, there's going to be this, and those are the things that attract you to purchase a property.
this would be that.
So are those the type of things that buyers should also look out for? Is that covered legally, or is it just the property itself, just the apartment, just the house?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talk
I'm
about
curious. I'm just
representation.
curious.
Okay.
Yeah, since we're like,
You all mentioned about agents, right?
Yeah.
Of course, if you go to a new project, there's people there selling you the best property in the world, saying you've got this and this and this and this. Those are always said.
yeah.
So the best way a buyer can protect him or herself is to first have it in writing. And we always tell all our clients, in fact, everyone here, to have everything in writing, in black and white. Then at least
Okay.
there's something there. Because if you want to say down the road if there's a problem, oh, this fellow said this, he'll just turn around and say, nope, I didn't.
So have it in writing.
Has WhatsApp, emails.
Emails is the best.
Ah,
Yeah.
Because WhatsApp these days you can delete.
Also true.
Messages.
That's
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
keep everything in writing. That's the most important because it's evidence.
Yeah.
to
Okay,
help you
so
later on.
I also have my sister actually when she had her home. There was actually I mean, of course, when they went to purchase and everything, of course they say, oh, we have a clubhouse, we have a gym, we have a swimming pool coming up, and this. But it take longer than expected to actually to be developed.
Right.
So in such cases, what can you do?
Like how Sharon was saying, claim for liquidated asset damages because your LED covers not only the vacant possession of your unit, but of the common facilities. And we're talking just about a strata property, yeah?
So even if, let's say, okay, it will be written in the contract.
It will
Correct me
be.
if I'm wrong. It will be
It will
written in
be.
the contract
Correct.
that, okay, it will be up in maybe
36.
2 years' time or something like that. And if it goes beyond that, then that is something that we
That's-
can...
Calculate and claim.
Yeah. How often do home buyers actually claim for all these damages? Because, you know, we're like America, you can sue everything in America. Somebody doesn't like you don't like that, somebody, you can sue them basically. Yeah, you can do that anything. But here in Malaysia, we're a little bit more lax in terms of like wanting to take legal action.
Yeah.
So in terms of maybe you don't have to give a rough percentage, but how often do home buyers actually claim for their damages?
If the amount is substantial enough,
Yes.
then it will push them towards suing.
Because
Yeah.
the legal fees included, usually if it's just a substantial amount of days, they won't really take an action.
Correct.
Do you have like a lot of cases that come to you guys in regards to
the LEDs, yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Right, so we're actually about to wind up our segment for today. But before we go, any final tips in terms of like first-time home buyers, in relates to strata management or even subsale properties? Any final tips that you'd like to share with our audience at home as well?
Everything in writing, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Everything, because when we are handling all these cases, we know. Sometimes the clients don't have. They always say, "Oh yeah, we agreed to this, to this, to this," but everything is verbal.
Yeah.
There's not much we can do. There's not so much we can do to help you. But if everything is in writing, even in an email, WhatsApp, or whatsoever,
Correct.
it will go a long way.
Tissue paper also can, right?
Tissue paper also
Anything.
can, right?
Yeah, as long as it's black and white.
Black and white, that's
Right.
the main thing.
Okay, and get a lawyer before you sign your contract. That's
Get a lawyer to at least go through the contract.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the main thing here.
Correct.
So thank you so much. Thank you,
Our pleasure.
Dewey, and also
Thank
Shireen
you.
from
Thanks for having
Mrs.
us.
Dewey. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing about first-time home buyers.
Exactly.
Of course, these are some of the things that typically people don't tell you, people don't talk about. So I hope you guys have a better and clearer picture, especially in terms of contract, right? To check
Yes.
for termination, to check
Yes.
for all the clauses that also Dewey and Shireen mentioned earlier.